Today's episode is focused on wellness, a vital aspect for any professional seeking to excel. We'll discuss the importance of yoga, dive into Reiki, and explore how fitness changed our lives, providing you with a comprehensive understanding and actionable advice. Joining us today is Heather Bennett Watkins. Heather is a yoga teacher, wellness expert, Reiki master. I'm not sure if I said that right. Did I?
Reiki.
Reiki. Okay.
Reiki.
It's new to me, so I'm going to learn a little bit today. And owner of Your Authentic Fitness. She started working out as a teen, has been practicing yoga since 1998, became certified in 2017, and has been teaching ever since. She's mastered how to balance a career, family life, and healthy lifestyle. Welcome, Heather.
Hey. Glad to be here. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited about this episode. Let's talk about your fitness journey and starting Your Authentic Fitness.
Right. Well, as you know, Rebecca and I go back quite a ways. I think we met at the gym, didn't we?
Yes.
Many years ago,
Yep.
right? So we have some of the same passions. Growing up, I've always been interested in fitness. I used to run. I had a park by my house, but it was one of those things where back in the 80s and the 90s, people didn't really necessarily go into a career of fitness. That was, you needed to be a doctor or a lawyer or go to college. So I did all those things, not a doctor or a lawyer, right? But I went to college. But I still had that love, that absolute love for fitness and movement. And I found that running was a way to get my stress out because you could have just a crazy day, and if you go take a run, you can't be mad. You absolutely can't hold that. You can't hold that in like that. So I found it as an outlet. Um, yeah. So I mean, I guess that's where the fitness and wellness started. A little bit later into that, my dad he was a type 1 diabetic, and I seen his whole journey of his health journey with his health just basically declined with diabetes. And it really gave me an understanding of the mind body connection and sometimes your mental health, how it really affects your physical health. So I'm passionate about it. I love it, but I know that we have a lot of control over our bodies more so than we think with movement. And I want to share that with other people because sometimes people don't really necessarily understand that or can tap into it because or fitness is always some people think it's hard, but I'm here to help you find your obtainable fitness because it really is. It can be so much fun. You just have to find what's right for you.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly. Exactly. And I feel like we share some of the same common background, actually. I started running. That's how I dove into fitness when I was probably about 15 or 16 years old. And I was a little bit of a chunky teen, I'd say, went through that puberty stage and the weight came on. And at that time, I would eat any and everything I wanted. But when I started running, it came, came off. I felt better, benefit. I looked better. I looked healthier. But I had more energy. And so that's really what kind of pushed me to continue. And then through that running, I gave birth to my son. I ran till I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant. It turned from running to jogging very slowly, but I was still being active. And then I dove into the weights. So that's another conversation in itself. But that's kind of how my fitness journey started. So ours is very similar. And I agree. I tell people, start walking. Walking is movement and it's magic. It's miracles. It can take the weight off. You don't have to do anything. It's not earth shattering. It's not rocket science. It's just moving your body.
Right. And I mean, the same way with weights, it took me years to get into weights. I actually got into weights from getting an injury where I couldn't run like I wanted to. And that's really hard for a runner, by the way. When you get, because there is such a thing as a runner's high, and it felt amazing to run, even though I've always found it hard to run. For me, it's been hard. But I loved it. And then I couldn't run anymore. So I started picking up the weights. That's when I noticed a change in my body composition. I never, someone could have told me that, but I just didn't. I started seeing that change. And it was simply because of the weights. I mean, the food, we can talk about that too. That's another whole huge thing about it that really changes your look. But getting into the weights made a big difference that I never even imagined, and I don't even think it's that hard. It's actually
Right.
a lot easier. It's a lot easier than running to me.
Yes. Yes. It's easier. Well, I would say it's easier on the joints, but I don't know if that's technically the case. But muscle boosts the metabolism, so it is paramount. Absolutely. But having a good combination of that cardio and the muscle building is very important. And actually, our backgrounds with our parents and families relate as well. My grandmother was a type 2 diabetic, and on my dad's side, they have the same and some hypothyroidism. So, my goal is to continue to take care of myself, and the nutrition is a major part of that, so that I can live life without having to be on medication or deal with some of the illnesses that they've had. So
Yeah.
yes, nutrition is paramount as well. So, tell us a little bit more about your authentic fitness.
So your authentic fitness, I guess, pretty much was birthed out of after all these years of doing all the things. I mean, everything from, I really got into the gym because I was hanging around cheerleaders. I wanted to be on the cheer team, but I just didn't have that confidence to ever try out. I mean, I went to the gym and did all the work, but then when it came to trying out, like for dance team, I didn't have the confidence inside to do it. Um, and so through the years, from working out, even getting into yoga, I did rowing classes on the Ohio River, by the way. I, yeah, that was a little scary, but I loved it. I loved it. Just all those different things brought me to the realization, and really it was food because I hated the older I got, I started realizing I need to eat a little different. My husband did some competitions, and that's when I really learned about eating. I mean, we didn't eat bad. We didn't think we ate bad, but we actually weren't eating as good as we could have. And with meal prep on someone that's doing a competitions, pretty rigid. And I watched that, but I didn't do that because it just was not me, but I did pick up some of those things, and it was a good thing for me. So, starting to up my protein, I did incorporate one chicken meal for lunch, and that's when I started losing weight around my waist. Wow, this is effortless. I mean, it wasn't really hard. Um, and after doing all these different things, even later, I started doing sunbasket meals, like meals that come in to the house in a box. I'd pick them out, and they have a lot of flavor. To me, like I have to have variety, flavor. But I tried all these different things, and what started to happen was I found the things that were easy, I was seeing results that I was not getting when I was doing the things that were hard, like the running. The running, yes, I'd seen some results, but then when I really dialed in the nutrition a little bit, when I started doing the fun boxes, the sun baskets, or just maneuvering one meal and having a chicken meal, chicken, potatoes, broccoli, or whatever, that's when I was seeing the results. And I'm like, this is not as hard as the world makes it to be. And it's just about finding what works for you. So, like with him, that competition style diet, I could never do that. That would never work for me. Yes, I would get those results, but I could never sustain that. I don't want to. I couldn't. But then yet I can order these meals to the house or have this tweak one meal that I'm having and still be able to drink a hot chocolate or I can't restrict myself to the point where I'm just not it's not in me. I don't have it like that. But I started seeing results by dialing in different things, and I can help other people. And that's what I realized. It's just about finding really your authentic fitness because it's not the same for everybody, but it's not as hard as, the marketers, the people selling all the programs want you to think it is. There's some basics, and then there's some dialing in for the individual, but it's definitely about, to me, finding something that you can sustain, really obtainable, sustainable fitness. It's a mouthful, but that's truly what it is, finding it for the individual.
I love that. As I've gotten older, that's something that's so important because we're busy. We're in our career. We have families and children, and they're playing sports, and we're running here and there. So finding something that fits with your lifestyle is important,
Yes.
or wrap it around your lifestyle. Um, and it makes a difference. It's the small things. We could even dive into supplements, and go there, all the supplement companies. Whole foods are the most important thing. Cut out the supplements as much as you can. I mean, they need to be minimal. Those are there to supplement your diet.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yes.
So I love that. Let's dive in a little bit to yoga and talk that what is the difference between yoga and Reiki?
Reiki.
Reiki.
Right.
I'm gonna get
Yeah.
it right.
So So Reiki, let's do Reiki first. We'll talk just briefly about Reiki. Reiki is an ancient Japanese healing technique, okay? Anyone can learn Reiki. You have to be attuned. So there's some woo-woo-ness to it, okay? You have to be attuned by someone else. So a Reiki master would do the attunement. But let's just talk basics about Reiki. Reiki is energy work, okay? So an example of energy work is if you're sitting over across the room and I'm staring at you, you can feel me staring at you. You can feel energy. People talk more about energy than they ever have in the past, 5 years? We used to never talk about anything like that except the, select group of people. But like energy work, you feel me staring at you, or you can feel tension. Some people feel it more than others, but you get that. So what Reiki is, it's a hands-on, or it could be a hover above the body, or hands, depending on if the person's comfortable. And the energy is just a clearing, healing energy. But one thing I will say about that is it's only it it's only as helpful as the person is open to receive it. So if you're going to have a Reiki session and you're like, this doesn't work, or, you have something in your mind where there's a barrier to it, you're not going to receive it as much. And no, it's not going to clear, it's not medical. It's not to be substituted for any kind of medical, but it's definitely relaxation. It's definitely healing in that aspect of the body. It's warm sometimes. Everyone experiences it different, and it can be different each time. So, for instance, uh, you'll hear someone like a person with Reiki may have hot hands, warm hands. So you can kind of, some sessions, people will feel the warmth come into their body. I've given it to my daughter only by permission. So you always have to ask permission before you do anything. And she'll describe it as waves.
Hmm.
And that's how I feel it through the hands, which is kind of funny because she says, "They don't go up and down, they start down and up, down and up." And I'm like, "Oh, it's interesting to have someone that little tell you exactly how it works for her." But, yeah, in a nutshell, it's just a healing energy, that works through hands-on or hands hovering for people that are open and receptive. Nothing too much more than that.
Nice. So is this performed on all parts of the body to heal, or is this just hand to hand?
Um, there is a sequence, so most parts of the body, so and we could just do one section, but a general Reiki session would start with the head, the neck, the shoulders, across it's kind of like that, down, down, ending with the feet, grounding out with the feet.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And do you usually perform these in person with someone, or do you walk them through the steps of that?
Interesting that you say that. So you can do in person or distance. Now, I think that distance is, to me, I think that in person is much stronger But, I'll tell you one story about distance in a minute, and it's totally closed. It's on a table like a massage table, fully closed, you know, on the back. Or I could give you Reiki standing up, but you would want to relax. The name of the game is just sink in, relax, close your eyes, just relax. But you could do it other ways. But the distance, so I gave it when I was first getting attuned, I gave it to like, okay, this I can't explain how it works. All I know is I was attuned, I chose to be attuned to it and it does work. So I had two people I tried it on distance. My mom, who is, I mean, she's not into a bunch of woo stuff, you know. So the way it works is you set a time. So you have to know that person's name, where they're at, and date of birth, and a time. So I'm like, okay, mom, I'm going to give it to you. I gave it to her at work. I'm going to give it to you at 9:45 in the evening. She works at night. And I did it, we're not on the phone together. And she calls me back. She's like, I got that Reiki or whatever. And so she actually got it. She was like, I just felt I was tickled about it because I didn't know how it was going to be. And I've done it with another friend of mine. And she just said it was I told her, I said, just sit down in front of your computer, in front, she was at work, in front of your desk, have some hot tea or whatever. And she said it was very relaxing, but she did feel it. But it's not a profound, it's not like this, it's energy. It's subtle energy is the way, subtle relaxation energy. And again, you have to believe to receive it. So if you think it's nothing, you're not going to get anything.
Well, I love woo woo. It sounds similar to meditation to me.
Kind of in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
So there's not a
I'll
lot of body movement. It's more just
no,
that relaxation, channeling energy in different parts of your body.
yeah, like moving it out sometimes. And that I would say could be similar to yoga and or any kind of movement when you think about it, because when we move and we move energy when we do so. When you exercise, you run, you lift weights, you're moving energy around in your body. When you do yoga, it's it's a movement in throughout the body. You move the breath throughout the body. It's kind of like the cobwebs. You breathe in, you kind of move in and out, right?
Yeah. So I will tell you, I have been doing yoga at least one time a week. I would love to do more. For the last probably 6 months, I have been committed to that. And I can tell a major difference in my flexibility or mobility, as well as after I do a yoga session, which typically for me, it's in the evening after a long work day where I can decompress. I sleep better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I love it. I fell in love with it. My little yoga story, if I could sum it up, it was basically I started at U of L. I took it to get a grade. I was like, this is me and a friend of mine. We're like, this would be an easy grade. I'm gonna get an easy A. and, and we had already taken weight training. I think you had to take two for physical education. So I took yoga and I was like, that'd be an easy A. And I got in there and I absolutely loved it. I'm so lucky I had a teacher, Judy Rice, who, unknowns to me, she was very known in the community, a very well seasoned yoga practitioner. And it was great. It was great. I didn't read too much into it though. I did it and then I got out of school and kind of let it go for a little bit. Got into a job and the stress started coming on and I went back and started doing corporate yoga. And that's where I realized how to use yoga to let go of things. The first time was just an A, just to get a grade. The second time was how to let go of stress, release, and so I've been a user for so long, and that's when I really got inspired to be a teacher. It's like I want to help other people feel this. This has been profound for me. I learned how to meditate that way. Because I'm a type A. I know you probably are too. you know, it's not easy for me to wind down, to calm down. I'm not the Zen person. I'm the person. So it helped me relax. And at the end of the session, you do your shavasana And so Shavasana is just laying on the ground as corpse pose. You're laying on your back at the end of it all. It's almost like to think about dust going up, and when it comes down, that's slow, and you see all the dust and everything settles down, and you're just in your body and everything's settling down. And it's that point where I was feeling like a different feeling, of starting to get into a zone of where am I? I am like totally relaxed. This is amazing. Because who takes the time out to lay down for 5 minutes or 3 minutes? And I didn't want to get up. I actually wanted to lay down longer and to feel that sense of relaxation a little bit longer. So it was profound. It can be profound, but it's whatever you make it and whatever you need it to be. So you might need it for a grade, you might need it for sleep. Maybe you just want to do it for community, and it can change throughout your life. It's not set in stone, and it's definitely not related to religion. So let's just get that one out there, because you see people like, oh, Christians can't do yoga. And I guess I can see where to some people that were maybe very religious and devout, where they've been taught that meditation is wrong. I could see where maybe that would be a fear to someone, because you definitely get into a state, but it's not affiliated with, although yoga is from India. It originated in India, and it has the philosophies. If you really get into the 8 limbs of yoga, asana or movement is just one of the 8 limbs. There's a bunch of other things, but asana can be its own thing. You don't have to believe in the deities to practice yoga. You can go to a class that does talk about the deities and the stories, but that doesn't necessarily have to be yoga.
Yeah. I really think that that last few minutes, when you're in that relaxation state, I've got into a yoga session having a slight headache, being hungry, ready to have dinner. And when I'm finished and in that moment, I am so relaxed, and any stress that I had from that day is simply gone. And I feel like my mind is clear, and I'm ready to have dinner or move to the next thing. And my body goes from that sympathetic state to that parasympathetic. And I think that's really
Yes.
what it's about, is bringing you down, bringing your cortisol down, getting relaxed, the stress hormone. It's made a difference. I should do it a little bit more than one time a week, but hey, I'm a work in progress.
That is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So is there a certain, is there an amount of yoga session, or, how many you would stick with for a week? Or if someone's new and they're wanting to incorporate, would you start at 1 or maybe 2? And what would be the maximum you would recommend? Or is it something, can you do yoga every day?
I do yoga every day. I do it every day. But no, I mean, it's really up to the individual and what the individual has time for. But you know how they say, I don't know if you've heard this meditation, like if you have time to meditate, make sure you meditate every day for X amount of time. If you don't have time to meditate, you need to meditate longer, right? You need to meditate. So it's really up to the individual. But with anything, it's habits. It's habit formation, and to get into a habit, you have to carve that time out if you're going to commit to something fully. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to stick with it, because you're not committing, or you haven't made the time, or there's all kinds of life gets in the way. So with anything, you have to decide when you're going to practice, where you're going to practice, and what you want to try. But then that can change, just like with teachers. A yoga teacher there's so many different kinds of yoga. There's so many different kinds of teachers. So if you try it and you don't like it, try somebody else. If you try virtual and you don't like virtual and you need a community, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you go to the community and you don't like the vibe there, try virtual. There's so many different ways and things to try out. But I would say for someone starting out is really to commit to a time that you're going to do it. whether maybe it's the beginning of your day, maybe it's the end of your day, and then decide what form and how long you're going to try that one. And even maybe writing down, jotting down how it's going so you can adjust. With everything, things change, you change. So you just got to see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you offer some of these type of programs with your Authentic Fitness?
I do. I do. So I've been doing virtual yoga on for corporate where it's called Take 15 Yoga. And it is for busy, it's directed mainly for women, but not necessarily. It's busy people, 15 minutes of yoga. And you're like, how can you possibly do yoga in 15 minutes? Believe me, you can. Um, so I have Take 15 Yoga. I have over 100 of them. I've been doing them probably for 3 years, and I just started recording them like 2 years ago. So now I have them on YouTube and you can check them out. I'll have to put the link. I'll give you the link. It is a work in progress. So I don't have my YouTube where it's going to be, but I also keep a lot of those unlisted. So I only have a few out there because I package them up as part of your authentic fitness. So if we work together, yes, yoga is definitely in it if you want it to be, right? So you get it, but if that's not your thing, that's not your thing. I'm not going to force it on you. But that's a Take 15 is a great way to get into it because it's quick. Not everybody has time for an hour practice. Not everyone has time for a half an hour practice. So 15 minutes, you can get some in. A lot of them I will put in the title what they are or in the body of it. So they might just focus on back and shoulders, but we're still going to do a little bit for the legs at the end because you can't just stretch the back and the shoulders and not do a little bit of we're going to get in a little bit more full body, but we're going to focus on one or two parts. And a lot of working people want neck, shoulders, back, but arms are important too because a lot of people are typing this and that. So,
Yeah, definitely guilty of that. I can say my sweet spot is about 20 minutes when I do yoga. Because I am type A, it's hard for me to sit still or stay in a movement for an extended period of time. I feel like I need to be running, but there's so many benefits to yoga, and it definitely should be incorporated into everyone's weekly, I don't want to say routine, but some way somehow in your life on a weekly basis. Now I know you've been doing yoga in heels, which is pretty cool. I don't think I've seen anyone do that. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
all right. So during 2020, we're all in our house and I've been on Instagram with some folks, some yoga folks that I used to do yoga club box. And I met a bunch of people with yoga club box. It's clothing. It was a box curated. And I was writing for them, like doing articles and getting clothing. It's kind of an exchange clothing in a box, a whole yoga outfit for an article. And I met some great people, but through that, I started reaching out on the Instagram community, and there's a couple ladies that were doing yoga with heels. It's like, this is cool. I like it. I like it. And so I did a few, you just share your picture and then they usually they feature you maybe in their story. And I really like there's like 3 or 4 people there. There's a guy, there's just several people there. Um that I really enjoy what they're doing, and I was inspired by them, so I started doing it, and then, you do get I've been doing it more now, uh, you get people that really hate on that, they hate on that because they're like, "Oh, she's just doing it for attention," and or, "Oh, there's no alignment to that, that's not yoga." Well, I don't need you to tell me what it is, okay? It's fun for me, I love the people, I love the little community, there might only be, like, 10 likes on my Instagram, I don't care because I'm interacting with a small subset of people who are killing it. There's some people, like, they're around the world. There's one, I think she lives in Thailand, and she has this beautiful I'm gonna mess it up. I think I wanna include her link in here. It's like yoga Pilates. I should know her. I should know her, handle, but I don't. And she's the founder of it, but she has the most coolest backgrounds because she's out here, like, on this high-rise building. It's probably her apartment in these heels, and, she's Pilates too, so there's some people that do some amazing things, and I'm over here keeping it simple, but I do it at the gym, and that's a whole 'nother thing because there's people I'm doing it on Thursday nights in my little room at the gym, and I'm sure they're like, "Is she doing OnlyFans?" You know? I'm sure there's people wondering all kinds of things, but it's just fun. But as a response from that, kitty, come here. I've had people ask if I'm going to do a class, and I'm like, well, I mean, we could. I mean, maybe. I mean, it would, you know what it would be? It would be more channeling. And if you've heard of the chakras, your root chakra, your sacral chakra, your lower chakras, to get into your body and to get in, maybe if you're having blocks on creativity or maybe like feeling sexy, that would be an awesome way to open that up and explore it that way. Self confidence. You have to go to the gym. When you're going to the gym and you're doing yoga in heels and anyone can walk into a room, you have to put yourself aside because you know someone's going to come in there and like judge you. And you're just like, back to my yoga in heels, back to my yoga in heels. You asked, Rebecca.
Yes, yes. I think it's really awesome. I just feel like if I put on some heels and try to do any movement except for walking from here to the car or from the car to the office, I might fall. So how do you overcome that? How does
Well,
balance come into play?
and that's another thing. Even when I'm teaching yoga, our 15 minutes, like there's days when if you have a lot on your mind, take your yoga practice to a balancing practice because anytime you're balancing, you can only do what you're focused on, right? So if even without heels, if I've got a lot going on, I'm going to practice balance because I have to come inside and I have to really ground down to the here and now and to get here to put off anything on a balance note. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You really have to put some concentration, focus on what you're doing and kind of block the outside out. And that's another thing why I started doing yoga at the gym because it just takes it up another level. When you're doing yoga in a room and someone's walking around, you can't control these people coming into that room. Like even when I'm not doing heels, because I do it every night when I go to the gym. That kind of stuff going on in the background helps you well, in my mind, it helps me become better because I have to, one, get them out of my mind. Two, balance. I can lose my balance just because someone's over here doing this and that. That's good. That's good. It's just making it a little bit more difficult and putting me more into my practice.
Yeah, yeah. I see that. And two, talking about judging people, I mean, we've all been guilty of it, but I will say over the last couple years, that's something that I have made I don't do it. If I let people do what they're doing, and obviously if someone's going to get hurt or there's something serious, I might go and get one of the gym workers and just say, hey, I noticed this. But don't bother people when they're doing their thing. Don't judge people. There's all the videos floating around of this and that person doing. Let people be. Stop that.
Yes. Yes. Um, speaking of that, something that's changed between with our age, we're kind of in the same age bracket, right? The fitness trends these days are so different. The body type trends. Everyone's trying to get the same body type. But when you think about looking back, like back in the 80s and the 90s, there was Anderson there. I was just watching, like we talk about how'd you get into fitness. I'm thinking, well, I had a get in shape girl kit. that I loved. It had a little mat. I used to do yoga or like TV fitness workouts with my aunt and my mom's friend I used to walk with. So being inspired by other people and you're inspired by what you see and what's around you. Nowadays it's the music. So people see the videos. They want the big hips and the thighs. And not everyone's born with the big hips and the thighs. And back in the 80s, not everyone had the big breasts or the small thighs. And it's all on trend. And you got to really just get down to that's about what are your goals? What do you want to look like? Do you really taking an inventory on the inside and kind of putting all the outside stuff away and realizing what they want and what's right for them might not be right for me. And sometimes I don't think we take the time to really help the younger folks with that. It's all about what's on trend and people are putting plastic parts and stuff into their thighs and their butt. I mean, and no judgment if that's what you want to do, but you got to think about, and that's something you and I can talk a whole nother day on about the long term effects of that, and who are we doing it for?
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. From you and I talking off of this record, it definitely wellness, long-term longevity is what's important to me. And it wasn't what that 20-year-old little girl thought was important. And so, every young one that I come in contact with, they've got to make their own decisions, but all I can do is support and help guide them, and encourage them that I know you want this here and now, but let's think about when you are in your 40s and 50s and 80. Do you want to be that 80-year-old out on the pickleball court playing? Do you want to be able to play with your grandkids? Taking care of the inside it matters.
Yes, well, and the guys get wrapped up in all the crazy stuff too. Right, it does. And that's where breath with yoga, like we talked about the parasympathetic, the peace, the parasympathetic nervous system. You're breathing in, you're actually working on the inside of your body, you're calming yourself, but you're also clearing yourself. And sometimes that can be boring to someone that's moving around a lot. And you have to take time out. So getting into again scheduling a practice or whatever. Um, yeah, I'm off on another tangent, but yes.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, what an enlightening conversation today with Heather. Those of you listening, I'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts and experiences on these topics. Heather, if you'd like to share with the audience how they can connect with you.
Yes, I will put that. Why don't we share that in the chat? So, www.yourauthenticfitness.com as everything's out there. So we can schedule a call if you want 20 minutes to find three ways that you can tap into your authentic fitness. Also take 15 yogas out there. So, all things are on www.yourauthenticfitness.com. And I'm also on Facebook, same place, yourauthenticfitness.com or Heather Bennett Watkins.
Awesome. I will include how to connect with Heather in the show notes, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insightful discussions. Thank you for joining us on Balance and Bottom Lines with Rebecca. Remember, the balance between personal well-being and professional success is key. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, keep striving for excellence in both your personal and professional life. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.